Alright guys, I'm here for a review of It Chapter 2, and this came out in 2019. So I finished watching it last night. I thought the movie was 2 hours. It was longer than 2 hours because if I kind of started around like 9:30ish, the movie was not over until after midnight. So that definitely was over 2 hours. So I figured I would sleep on it. I had some thoughts. I would sleep on it, and then I would come back and give you guys my review of the second chapter. So the first, you guys know, the premise of the first chapter is a group of kids calling themselves the Losers. They were able to discover it through history, like figuring out, like, okay, you know, why does it kind of resurface every 27 years? What does it look like? How does it present itself? And they figure out that being together is the strength that they use against it. And what it typically does is that it does prey on people in isolation. Okay, so together they're stronger in numbers. Okay, so they make a pact at the very end of chapter 1, promising each other that if they have not defeated it, and if it does return, they will come back to Derry and they will, you know, try again. Okay, so what happens is that these murders start to take place again, and Mike, who is our I find this interesting. So there's a group of kids, right? So I'm going to tell you guys a group of kids. So of course our main character is Billy. Then we have Beverly, who is the only woman. She's a white girl, right? We have Mike, who is the only black guy. We have Ben, we have Richie, and we have Stanley, okay? And we have Eddie, okay? So how many is that? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I say Ben? 6, 7. Okay, so we have about 7 kids, and it's interesting because a lot of times in certain places there is one black guy, okay, or one black person, or there is one woman or one white woman, right? So even in this group, like, there's clear minorities. Okay, so anyway, what happens is that Mike, who is our only black person in the group, he actually stays in Derry. He becomes the town librarian. Okay, so he stays in Derry, and he's the connection, you know, because everyone else leaves. They leave the town, and he says, look, these murders are happening again. We made a promise to each other. We're all going to come back together, and we are going to... Let me clean my glasses. It's like foggy. Give me 1 minute, okay? Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. I got some eyeglass cleaning spray. Let me spray and clean these up. I should have did this earlier. Sorry, guys. Sorry. But so Mike calls everyone. He calls everyone individually because they're all separated in different parts, you know, of the United States. The movie opens where there are two gay male young adults at the town fair, and they get attacked by a group of kids. It's brutal. I don't like seeing, you know, like people kind of just like get beat up on. It was brutal. But anyway, they kind of get ganged up on by, I think it was like 3 or 4 other kids because of their sexuality. And what they do to the one guy was they beat him up, and then they threw him over the edge of this bridge, and he goes into the water. So the boyfriend, the other kids kind of, after they throw him over, they run off. So the boyfriend, he actually tries, and get him. And the guy is still conscious in the water, but he's like, help, help. He's in the water. So his boyfriend tries to help him, but before he can get to the boyfriend, he actually sees it, okay, which is in the shape of a clown. He sees it attack him and kill him, okay. Now my phone's ringing. Hold on. All right, my friend's call. I'll be right back. All right, y'all, I'm back. So, I said one of my friends called. I met a coworker friend, okay, a coworker friend who I just met at my part-time job. We kind of been chit-chatting about work and stuff. So that's who called me just now. And I have two phones. So I have my work phone, and then I have my personal phone. So she called me on my work phone, okay. So anyway, so I left off at Mike had called everyone individually to let them know that the murders had started. It says 27 years later, and as they knew, it will probably resurface, okay. So Bill, they're all grown up now. Billy is now a writer, okay. He is married to an actress, and some of his books have been made into movies. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, right? And then we have hold on. Give you a rundown what everybody's doing, okay. So we got Billy, and then we have Beverly. She has become a fashion designer, and she's married. Her husband is abusive, and he is very reminiscent of her dad when she was younger, okay. We have Richie. Richie was the he's like a stand-up comedian. This is the kid that was like super funny in the when they were younger. I didn't really see. I guess I wasn't paying attention. But then when I kind of thought about, like, they do in chapter 2, they do kind of show the kids when they were kids, and he does stand out as having like the funniest wisecracks and comebacks and your mama jokes. So it makes sense now. So that's Richie. Richie is a stand-up comic. And then we have Ben, who he was the one that was he was like a heavier kid. He is the kid that actually built their little fort when they were younger, and he's now an architect, which makes perfect sense. He has slimmed down a lot, very handsome, okay. And then we have Eddie. Eddie is the kid that, the little guy whose mom was making him sick, basically. She must have had Munchausen by proxy, Munchausen syndrome by proxy. He is a risk analyst, and I'm not sure if a risk analyst is similar or is the same thing as an actuary, but I was looking into that as a career. They're kind of like, reminds me of like, they're like accountants, but they're like accountants and statisticians. They kind of weigh like the risks, and sometimes that's how you get your insurance premiums and costs and stuff. But I looked into that years. I'm not sure if it's the same thing, but I've looked into working as an actuary. But that's not my background. But I was thinking about that some years back. But that's what he is now as an adult. They're pretty much successful. Like, they are not kids that are just making it. Like, they are doing pretty well in their established careers. Eddie, his wife is very reminiscent of his mom. She's very like overprotective. Honey, you shouldn't, be driving and talking on the phone, and what if you hydroplane? Like she's very like much like his mom, and his mom was making him sick. Like, you gotta be careful of bugs and germs and playing too rough. Like, like his mom is his wife is very similar. And I find it interesting when I did some reading. The person who played his wife is the same actress that played his mother. But the mother clearly, the actress, when she played his mom, she clearly had like makeup on to make her look older. And then clearly, she was younger, looking when she played the wife. And then we have Stanley. Stanley is in the first chapter 1, he's the son of the rabbi. He is actually now, I'm reading because I didn't know this as I was watching, but he's a founding partner of a large accounting firm. Okay. And then we have another character, not part of the Losers Club, but then we have Henry. Hold on. What's the dude name? Henry Bowers, who is the leader of the bully gang called Bowers Gang. Okay, so Henry actually, we see that he actually gets arrested for the murder of his dad. Okay, and he actually gets sent to a psychiatric facility. Okay, so that's where everyone is 27 years later in their respective careers. Mike has stayed back as the librarian of Derry. He has a job clearly, but he's not doing as well, I would say, in regards to like they all kind of like live in like very nice homes in larger towns, having movies made about their books. Being on stage, being a comedian, like they're all really doing really well. And of course, being a librarian is nothing to sneeze at, but he's not living like a glamorous life. Okay, so what happens is that for some reason, Mike is the only one that has clear memories about the summer they spent fighting it. Okay. The other adults, they vaguely remember Derry. They vaguely remember their summer and their childhood, okay, in Derry. And so they all decide, for the most part, that they're going to go back. And they're all together besides one. And they start to like the memories are starting to come back. They're having a good time. So they start to meet. They meet at this I'm not sure if it's Japanese. I want to say Japanese restaurant, and they're all eating like buffet style at their table, and they're cracking jokes and laughing and having a good time. And everyone's there besides Stanley. So apparently, when Stanley got his phone call, it did, in a sense, re-traumatize him, and he made the decision to kill himself. Unfortunately. I find that interesting. So, as I watch movies, I can't just watch a movie for entertainment value. I think people put subliminal messages in movies, okay? So Stanley, of course, this didn't happen in the first movie rendition of the book. But Stanley is a son of a rabbi, right? So, and they made this happen for this movie, right? So out of every character, okay? Out of every character in this group, the son of a rabbi is the one that kills himself, right? Do you find that interesting? Did you see some of these like these themes kind of play out in movies, right? Like the person in this group, the closest to a certain religion, a certain spiritual belief, kills himself, right? There's no belief that I can defeat this. God can defeat this. Like they take a lot of religion or spirituality or belief system out of these movies But there are saviors, right? We know who the saviors are. The saviors are going to be the grown-up kids now. But it's very interesting. Okay, so it taunts them while they're at the table. They get served the fortune cookies, and they all their fortunes only have one word, and they're trying to organize it so that it makes sense. And then Beverly has the last word, and when she puts it on the table, it reads out, "Guess Stanley couldn't cut it," something like that. It reads out in a way that it knew that Stanley wouldn't be coming. And then of course they kind of, something happens at the table with the remaining fortune cookies, where they kind of turn into disgusting things, disgusting, evil looking, weird looking, nasty little creatures start popping out of the fortune cookies. So they all decide to leave. There's a little boy that actually comes up to who's our comedian? Give me 1 minute. There's a little boy that comes up to our comedian, who is Richie, and says something, and I forget exactly what he says, but what he says, Richie is almost like, is this it? Like, is this it taking the shape of a little boy who's taunting me? But it was really he was really saying, I'm a fan. This is one of the lines of your stand-up shows. And he's like, oh, okay. And little boy walks away with his parents, like, basically, he didn't say it, but it was almost like, he's a jerk, like, how some people, they say that they meet celebrities, and when they meet the celebrity is like rude or nothing like they thought they were going to be. So this little boy is clearly like, I don't like you no more, but so that happens. They come together at some point. They were kind of like, should we stay, should we go, right? So at a certain point they were like, we're out of here, we're done, let's just leave it alone. And Mike is like, basically like, look, we're not going to survive another 27 years. We have to kill it right now, or we'll be like Stanley. Basically, we're going to die, but prematurely. So Mike shows Billy. Mike has been doing research, so he actually went and visited this native tribe, and they basically tell him that they have experienced it, and they kind of like give him a history, and basically tell him how to defeat it, right? And Mike gives Billy a psychedelic, and shows him some kind of an emblem that they gave him, or artifact that they gave him, and Billy can see. Mike wants Billy to see what he knows, right? And so Billy, is like, okay, I understand where you're coming from now, so we can probably defeat it. So they go to the hotel. In another scene, Henry Bowers sees a red balloon. Red balloon symbolizes the clown, right? So sometimes you'll see the clown, sometimes you'll see other scary characters, where the clown takes different shapes, right? He can mimic. He would taunt Billy by mimicking his brother Georgie, right? So he can take different shapes. He also uses the red balloon, right? A lot of times the red balloon is filled with something. It can be filled with blood, it can be filled with different things. So anyway, Henry Bowers is inside of his psychiatric facility. He sees a red balloon outside, because they have a window, he can see outside. So he sees a red balloon, and he's basically taken to his room. When he goes into his room, he sees a red balloon. One of his friends who it has killed in the previous movie, or the previous chapter, actually is all disfigured and grotesque, and he hands Henry his knife. And with that knife, Henry is able to attack another patient and also escape the hospital, okay? So Henry's out of the hospital now, okay? And clearly he has orders, because he's, being used, Evil spirits can use other evil spirits, or even weak spirits to some degree, okay? So anyway, our adults Mike has a plan. He says, look, we all need to separate. We all need to find a token from our childhood, something that means something to us. And with these tokens, this is going to be a big part of how we defeat it. So they all go on their separate journeys to figure out what their tokens are. What Beverly does is Beverly goes back to her childhood apartment, and she finds a postcard given to her by a member of the Losers, but her memory is cloudy. She can't figure it out. It was never clear, even when she was a kid, who gave her the postcard. And she was also kissed. The audience know. We know who the postcard came from. She doesn't know. And then she was also kissed by a member of the Losers, but she remembers who it was, and she thinks that the same person who gave her the kiss and the same person who gave her the postcard are the same, but they're not. And so Beverly goes into the apartment, meets a sweet old lady. The lady invites her in, and it's this apartment she grew up in, but it's not really a sweet old lady. It's actually it. And when she is able to escape the apartment, she sees now, like before it was carpeted, it was nicely decorated, it was all an illusion. When she finally is able to escape the apartment and she looks at it, it's all like abandoned and like worn down. So the whole time there was an illusion set up by it. But she did find a postcard. She found it, and she had to hide stuff from her dad because her dad was super pervy. Her mom died, and it seems like her dad was trying to replace her with her mom, like spraying her with perfume, calling her a little girl. Super weird. So she had to hide stuff, especially about boys and stuff. So the fact that she had a postcard from a boy, she hid it under a baseboard. So she was able to retrieve it. One of the kids finds their token in their fort. It was, you know how you play paddleball? Like one of the balls off the paddle. So he has that. For Billy, he had two tokens. He actually had the bike from when he was a kid. And he actually sees it. And he actually, retrieves the boat that he gave to his brother Georgie. Or at least I think it was the boat. I could be totally wrong about that, but I thought I saw something in his hand that resembled the boat. So maybe it wasn't, but I don't know if it would necessarily give him the boat. But I thought I saw him with the boat. Either way, he has a token at least. If he doesn't have the bike and the boat, he at least has the bike for sure. While he sees it under the sewer, he sees the same little boy from the restaurant that had approached Richie, and he tells the little boy, if you be safe, and the little boy says he does hear voices. He hears them in the drain of his tub, of the bathtub, and Billy shakes him and is like, get out of town, make up something, tell your parents to take you out of town. And I don't know in what world a 7-8-year-old kid can really convince their parents to pack up and leave town. Typically they're not going to listen. They're going to tell you that you're just having nightmares. And this particular town in Derry, from what the kids get the sense that the adults, they're blind, to the illusion of it anyway, So most of these adults are probably still not going to listen to their kid, right? So anyway, the little boy is just riding on a skateboard. Okay, he is like, he thinks Billy is weird, right? Just like he thinks that Richie is weird from the restaurant. So anyway, what else? Let's see. Our comedian Richie, what he does is, what did Richie find? I want to say for some reason I want to say Richie, and I believe I'm right. Richie used to like playing video games at the arcade, and he found a token. Okay, so he has a token from the arcade, and Eddie, who is our hypochondriac, the one that his mother was clearly mentally ill, but he goes and gets a prescription. He gets a I don't know exactly what his prescription was. I want to say it was some kind of medication. I want to say it was like an asthma pump or something. But he gets something from the pharmacist, which we know is all pretty much placebo anyway, right? It's not really, doesn't treat anything, but it makes him feel better. And let's see. What did Ben get? Ben is our architect. I think he's the one that found the paddle ball. The ball. I think he's the one that found that one. So they pretty much all have their tokens. They pretty much all have their tokens. And so what they do is they go back to the hotel where they're all staying, and Billy sees a skateboard. He sees a skateboard come down the steps, so he knows that it is trying to kill the little boy that he saw earlier, and that they saw at the restaurant too. So the little boy was telling Billy as he was riding off on his skateboard that he was going to go to the fair. So Billy catches up with him, and he is in this mirrored little maze or whatever. So the mirror, not a mirror maze, it's almost like a clear, you can see through it, but it's like hard plastic. And so they're kind of like trapped. Like Billy's in his own container, the little boy's in his own container, and the clown Pennywise is in his container. He uses his head to break through the glass and kill the little boy. And so the group kind of meets up, and Billy's like, he killed the little kid right in front of me. We have to attack now. So they all kind of go to, it kind of uses the underground, sewer system to, basically drag his victims through it and stuff. And so they kind of, go down there, and they, wage their war against it. So while they're there, they kind of go through, they kind of relive a lot of their childhood experiences. So, for example, Beverly is in a toilet stall. In the first chapter, she's in a toilet stall, and these girls are, calling her slut and all this stuff. And she re-experiences that with with her dad trying to break into the bathroom and all that stuff in the first chapter. And so she re-experiences that, and then there's all this blood, of course, like a whole Carrie scene all over again. And so they all get re-traumatized by different things. The little boy with the Eddie is a little boy that has the mom that makes him sick. He sees a leper, when he's a kid, and he experiences seeing that leper again. See, it's like a older, grotesque looking thing, right? And he gets, he sees that. Billy, of course, his brother reappears to him and blaming him. His brother confronts him and says, "You weren't really sick that day when you made that boat for me and I went outside." And he was like, "No," he said, "I didn't really want to play. It was a rainy day. I really wasn't that sick. I wasn't sick, basically." And little boy's like, "You lied and I died. You lied and I died. Died." And he's turning all, he's starting to look grotesque too. But of course, it has a way of bringing out everyone's worst fears, right? So, before I even go there, I have to say that Henry breaks out of jail. He attacks Eddie, and he attacks Mike. Okay, he stabs them both, but they both survive. Okay, so, and then of course he gets killed. Okay, so he does die. So before they even get down to the tunnel where it is, Henry's done. Okay. So anyway, they all get down there, and they remember some words that were told to Mike in regards to natural laws. So the law that they said is that you have to abide by the form that you're in. Okay, like that's a natural law. You have to abide by the form that you're in, right? So they thought with their tokens, what they did was they burnt them in a fire. Okay, so all of their tokens they burn in a fire. It's burning as much as they can because it's hard to even burn an arcade token, right? So they all burn their tokens, and they think that that's going to be the end of it, but it has actually gotten big. Like he just kind of swells, right? So anyway, they remembered this phrase about, whatever, you have to abide by the rules that your form, that your shape. And so they're like, you know what, we can get him to a small place. He'll get smaller. And then once he's smaller, we'll probably be able to defeat him. So they can't make him small. So what they do is they make him small emotionally. So they start calling him names like, you're a fraud, you're a clown. And as they're insulting it starts to shrink. He gets smaller. Of course, before they're able to get him smaller, he does end up putting one of his tentacles through Eddie. Okay, and the person that's most affected by that is Richie. Okay, so anyway, they start, hurling insults at him, and he gets small. What they do when he's small and he shrink, they pull his heart out of his chest, and they all put their hands together and squeeze the heart. Okay, so they have clearly, at the very end, they defeated it by destroying the hearts of it. Okay, so of course they go and try to save Eddie, but they can't. They need to get out of there fast because it's all caving in. So they make it out. Richie is very upset because it comes out that Richie was in love with Eddie, and they probably, if not for fear, because Richie has kept that secret to himself. He doesn't. There's no. I think he's the only one in the group. No, he's not. So Beverly is married. Billy is married. Stanley was married. Ben was not married. And Richie wasn't married. Eddie was married. So Eddie was married, but Eddie could have possibly been also in love with Richie. But if not for their fears, they probably would have been together. Yeah, so at the very end, they all, like in the first chapter, they jump off this ledge into this water, and what they do at the end of the movie is they all do it, and they kind of wash all the blood off of them and stuff in the water. And during the process of being attacked by it, Beverly finds out that it was actually Ben who had sent her that postcard, and it's Ben who she, has decided to love back. So, yeah, it ends nice. So, clearly, Ben and Beverly are going to be together. She's not going to return to her husband. Billy is going to write better books. Richie is probably going to live his life the way he, wants to. Yeah. Mike has decided that he's going to leave Derry. Okay, he has no reason to be there anymore. He's going to find a bigger purpose for himself. So it ends really, really well. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Give me 1 minute, and then I'm going to give you guys my interpretation. I don't think I'm missing anything. If I miss anything, then I will come back to it. Okay, but so this is my take. Okay, I would not be surprised if Stephen King has some kind of a psychological education, okay, either in college or just self-educated, okay, because there are some psychological things, right, that you can take from this movie. So childhood traumas childhood fears, they have a way of never really going away, right? And you can forget them all you want, but they usually are subconsciously there, okay? So in this movie, and that's what I wanted to say, in this movie, the people that left, okay, not Mike, because Mike stayed in town, but the kids that actually left town and made lives for themselves, they kind of forgot about Derry, right? And then those fears started coming back, right? And then they kept telling themselves it's not real, but they really didn't believe it as much as they did when they was a kid, right? So that's number one. You do have to deal with it. Doesn't mean that when you deal with your childhood fears, it doesn't mean that they go away. It just means that you have to acknowledge them. What happens is that with childhood fears and adult fears, a lot of times the illusion looks real, but a lot of times the illusion is just an illusion. It's just something that takes the shape of something real, but it's really not. Okay, so it's good to identify it and also figure out, is this illusion what I believe it is? You know, because feelings are not facts, right? Feelings are just not facts. How you feel is not a fact, right? To other people, it can be, yes, you are sad. That's a fact, right? But the fact that you're sad, is what you're sad about really real? Okay, let's put it into perspective. And sometimes we do confuse those things. I noticed that even with people who have religious trauma. So sometimes what happens is that we throw the baby away with the bathwater, right? So you get rid of pleasant things, useful things, things that you love, because you don't like the dirty things, right? There is a way to separate things, okay? So for me, and of course, my thoughts on things change over time, right? My thought right now, which this is my belief, nothing's perfect, okay? There's two sides of a coin. Religion, I'm not interested. Biblical teachings, values, and truths are what I'm not going to throw away, okay, with the religion. Religion can go. Religion is man-made. Religion is dirty. Religion is self-serving. Biblical truths and values, I can do. It makes sense to me, right? So when you're a kid, a part of being an adult is throwing away childhood things, right? And that's what they did in the movie. They actually had their tokens and they threw away childhood things. You do have to throw away childhood things as you become an adult, and that's going to be a big part of anyone's healing. So let's get to the fun stuff. So that's my psychological take, and I'm sure I have others that I'm probably not even thinking about right now, but I'm convinced Billy is Gordy in Stand By Me. Okay, they have both lost a brother, and they are both writers. And at chapter 2, Billy is writing his new book, and at the very end of Stand By Me, he is typing his book. Okay, so they are the same character, and that's my that's what I believe. The other thing is, I forgot to mention in my last video about this movie, is that there are a lot of themes of childhood groups and growing up and transitioning into adulthood. There is another movie that reminds me of Stand By Me and It. And the other Stephen King movie is Dreamcatcher. I didn't read the book, I watched the movie, but if you watch Dreamcatcher, you know what I'm talking about. There is some psychic abilities in that movie, and there is an alien attack too in that movie. So I would love to see a world of Stephen King. Like, I would love to see an amusement park I would love to see a world of Stephen King. I really would. An amusement park, um, a blended movie. Can you imagine if different characters came together in one universe and they had to fight something big? Like, oh, that would be awesome. Okay, that would be awesome. Um, that would be pretty cool. And it doesn't have to. So when you go to Universal, so for example, Universal, they'll take like different, like they have like a Simpson movie attraction, right, off the cartoon. They'll have a Terminator theater. Well, they used to have it. They don't have it anymore. But the Terminator attraction, like they had the motorcycles riding up and down the aisles, and then they had all the robots and stuff on the stage going like this and stuff. I could totally see that. You know, like it doesn't have to be like an actual like roller coaster. I mean, I think certain rides should be like riding in Christine, right? Or being in a train on Stand By Me, something like that, right? It could be a ride, but it can also be like a show style. Like Universal has like the Spider-Man ride. It's not really a mummy ride. They don't probably have it anymore. It's been years since I've been there, but they can definitely do Stephen King world at an amusement park, and it would be so cool for people like me who's Stephen King fan. So tell me what y'all think about that. That would be so awesome. If he ever sees this, please, I would love to be like a creative director or something, someone that has a vision. You can hire me, and I can help out. I can help out. But that would be so cool. But I'm going to end this video. I have to get back to work. It is still midday. I don't have a lot to do today, so that's why I took some time to do that now. But I will definitely come back another video after I watch another movie. And I saw an interesting one. It's nothing like action. It's nothing like what I just the one I'm thinking about watching. It's nothing like what I just reviewed. But I want to see it though. I do want to see it. But we'll see if I'm able to find it. Sometimes I'll see a movie that's free and then I go back to look for it. It's not there. So we'll see. But I'll let you guys know what I decide to do or what I decide to watch in the next video. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.